Every morning at 6:47 a.m., Maya stands in front of her bedroom mirror, practicing her smile. Not just any smile, the one that says, "I've got this," even when she doesn't. The one that convinced her boss to promote her. That makes strangers think she's naturally charismatic. That hides the voice in her head whispering, "They're going to find out you don't belong here." She adjusts her posture, lifts her chin, and rehearses the confident laugh she'll use in today's meetings. She's transformed into someone who looks nothing like the anxious person who spent 3 hours last night Googling imposter syndrome, how to stop feeling like a fraud. This is the daily ritual of the confidence performer, the person who has mastered the art of appearing self-assured while drowning in self-doubt. They walk into rooms like they own them, speak with authority they don't feel, and carry themselves like they've never questioned their worth. But behind the performance lies an exhausting secret. They're terrified someone will discover that their confidence is costume, it's not character. If you've ever felt like you're acting your way through life, if you've perfected the art of looking put together while falling apart inside, if you're tired of being praised for strength you don't actually possess, then you know this hidden pain intimately. Tonight, we're exploring the psychology of performed confidence, why some people become masters of emotional theater, and what it costs them to maintain the show. Living as a confidence performer is like being an actor who never gets to leave the stage. Every interaction becomes a performance. Every conversation, a careful choreography of words and gestures designed to project competence you don't feel. The performance is so convincing that even you sometimes forget it's an act. The fake confidence isn't just about putting on a brave face, it's about constructing an entirely alternate personality. The real you feels small, uncertain, constantly questioning your decisions. But the performed you speaks with authority, takes up space, appears unfazed by criticism or rejection. The gap between these two selves creates a unique kind of psychological suffering. You become trapped in your own success. Every achievement reinforces the mask because people praise the confident version of you, not the authentic one. Your boss compliments your leadership presence. Friends admire your self-assurance. Romantic partners are attracted to your apparent confidence. But none of them know the real youth, the one who practices conversations in the shower, who second-guesses every decision, who feels like an imposter in their own life. The exhaustion is profound. Maintaining a performance requires constant vigilance. You must monitor your posture, control your facial expressions, modulate your voice, and carefully choose your words. You scan rooms for signs that your mask is slipping. Someone might see through the facade to the frightened person underneath. Perhaps most painfully, you begin to lose touch with your authentic self. After years of performing confidence, you might not even know what genuine self-assurance feels like. You've become so skilled at mimicking confidence that you've forgotten what it would feel like to simply be yourself, uncertain, learning human without apology. The performed confidence becomes both your greatest asset and your deepest prison. The roots of performed confidence often trace back to childhood environments where authentic emotions were unsafe or unwelcome. These aren't necessarily homes with obvious abuse. They're often families where vulnerability was met with dismissal, where showing uncertainty resulted in criticism, or where love felt conditional on appearing strong and capable. Carl Jung wrote about the persona, the mask we wear to meet the world's expectations. For some children, the persona becomes a survival strategy. They learn that the worried child gets ignored, but the confident child gets attention. The uncertain child gets criticized, but the self-assured child gets praised. Many confidence performers grew up as parentified children, forced to be the strong one, the reliable one, the one who had it all together while chaos swirled around them. They learned that showing fear or doubt wasn't safe, that their role in the family was to project stability even when they felt anything but stable inside. Alfred Adler's psychology reveals how children develop compensatory behaviors to overcome feelings of inferiority. The child who feels fundamentally flawed or inadequate may develop an superiority complex, an overcompensation that presents as supreme confidence but masks deep insecurity. Attachment theory shows us that children who experienced inconsistent or conditional love often develop what psychologists call earned secure attachment. They learn to appear self-reliant and confident, because depending on others felt too risky. They master the art of looking like they need nothing from anyone. The performed confidence also serves as emotional armor. If you never let people see your uncertainty, they can't use it against you. If you always appear strong, you can't be hurt by being seen as weak. The mask becomes protection, but like all armor, it also becomes a prison that separates you from genuine connection and authentic self-expression. Meet David, a 28-year-old sales manager who everyone describes as naturally confident. He closes deals effortlessly, commands rooms during presentations, and seems immune to rejection. But David has a secret ritual. After every successful meeting, he locks himself in his car and has a panic attack. David's story illustrates the first painful truth about performed confidence. The bigger the performance, the deeper the terror of being discovered. His confidence isn't natural, it's the result of years of meticulous practice. He studies confident people like an anthropologist, mimicking their gestures, speech patterns, and energy. He's memorized scripts for every social situation, rehearsed responses to potential criticisms, and perfected the art of appearing unflappable. But the performance requires enormous energy. Every interaction feels like walking a tightrope. One wrong move, a moment of vulnerability, and the entire facade might crumble. The praise he receives for his confidence feels hollow, because he knows it's not real. People are falling in love with his costume, not his character. The cruel irony is that his performed confidence often attracts exactly the kind of relationships he fears once, where people expect him to always be strong, to always have answers, always be on. He becomes trapped by his own success at pretending. The first step toward healing is recognizing that the exhaustion isn't character. Weakness, it's the natural result of living authentically inside while performing inauthentically outside. The anxiety isn't evidence of inadequacy. It's evidence of the courage it takes to keep showing up even when you don't feel ready. The psychology of performed confidence reveals something crucial about human attachment and nervous system regulation. When we feel fundamentally unsafe being ourselves, our nervous system develops what trauma therapists call hypervigilant presentation, a constant state of monitoring and adjusting to maintain safety through performance. Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory explains that humans have three primary nervous system responses: safety and social engagement, fight or flight, and shutdown. For confidence performers, the social engagement system becomes weaponized. They learn to charm, impress, and appear strong as a survival strategy, but they never actually feel safe enough to relax into authentic connection. This creates what psychologists call performance anxiety paradox. The better you become at performing confidence, the more terrified you become of being seen without the performance. Your nervous system learns that acceptance is conditional on the mask, so removing the mask feels life-threatening even when logic tells you it's safe. The performed confidence also creates emotional dysregulation around failure or criticism, because their entire sense of safety depends on appearing perfect. Any mistake or rejection doesn't just feel bad, it feels existentially threatening. A simple no can trigger the same nervous system response as physical danger. Recovery involves slowly learning to tolerate being seen in your uncertainty. This requires what attachment therapists call earned security, gradually building relationships where your authenticity is met with acceptance rather than judgment. The goal isn't to become naturally confident, it's to become comfortable being genuinely yourself, uncertainty and all. Søren Kierkegaard wrote extensively about anxiety as the dizziness of freedom, the overwhelming terror that comes with recognizing our responsibility for creating ourselves. For confidence performers, this existential insight cuts deep. They've spent so long creating a false self that the prospect of authentic self-creation feels paralyzing. Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch isn't about superiority, it's about the courage to create your own values rather than living by others' expectations. The confidence performer has mastered living by others' definitions of strength and success, but they've lost touch with their own authentic values and desires. Jean-Paul Sartre argued that we are condemned to be free, that despite our past conditioning, we must choose who we become. This is both terrifying and liberating for the confidence performer. The mask they've worn isn't their permanent identity. They have the freedom to choose authenticity, even if it means disappointing people who fell in love with the performance. Marcus Aurelius taught that our suffering comes not from external events, but from our judgments about those events. The confidence performer suffers not because they feel uncertain everyone, feels uncertain sometimes, but because they judge uncertainty as unacceptable. Weakness is shameful. Vulnerability is dangerous. Albert Camus wrote about the absurd hero who creates meaning despite life's fundamental uncertainty. The path forward for confidence performers is to become genuinely confident. It's to become comfortable with the absurdity of being human, of not knowing, of being imperfect, and finding meaning and connection within that. It's uncertainty rather than despite it. The healing journey begins with a radical reframe. Your performed confidence isn't evidence of your deception. It's evidence of your remarkable, adaptive intelligence and courage. The child who learned to perform confidence was solving an impossible problem. How to get love and safety in an environment where authenticity felt dangerous. That child developed extraordinary emotional intelligence, observational skills, and resilience. These aren't character flaws, they're survival superpowers. Practical healing involves 3 core practices. Gradual authenticity. Start small. Share one genuine uncertainty with one safe person. Notice that the world doesn't end. Your relationships might actually deepen when people meet the real you instead of your performance. Practice saying, "I don't know," without immediately following it with reassurance. Energy reclamation. Notice how much energy your performance consumes. What would you do with that energy if you didn't spend it maintaining a mask? How might your life change if you could direct that intelligence and effort toward authentic goals rather than impression management? Vulnerability practice. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's feeling afraid and showing up anyway. True confidence comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes, not from pretending nothing can touch you. Practice being genuinely uncertain, genuinely learning, genuinely human. Remember, the goal isn't to become fearless, it's to become comfortable being afraid, uncertain, and imperfect in front of people who matter. The confidence you've been performing exists within you at S, just buried under years of believing that your authentic self was unacceptable as ESS. There comes a moment in every confidence performer's journey when they realize something profound. The people worth knowing don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be real. Your performed confidence has served you well. It got you through impossible situations, helped you achieve things you never thought possible, and taught you skills that will serve you forever. But it was never meant to be your permanent identity. It was meant to be training wheels until you felt safe enough to risk being authentically yourself. The exhaustion you feel isn't weakness, it's your authentic self asking to finally come home. The anxiety isn't your enemy, it's your inner wisdom telling you that performing yourself into existence is no way to live. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, every time you let someone see your uncertainty without immediately covering it with false bravado, every time you admit you don't have all the answers, you're not losing confidence, you're finding it. Real confidence isn't about having no fear. It's about being afraid and showing up as yourself anyway. It's about knowing that your worth doesn't depend on your performance. Tonight, when you take off the mask, remember, the person underneath isn't your weakness. They're your strength. They're who you were always meant to be. If you're tired of performing strength you don't feel, you're not alone. Subscribe for more explorations into the authentic self waiting beneath our carefully constructed masks.